Victor Lucas, this is Johnny Millennium, and you are watching Film Fury, and we have just stepped out of a screening of Battle Angel Alita, and check this out, it's James Cameron and Robert Rodriguez combining forces to bring this movie into the big screen.
I have a lot to say about this. You got to tell everybody who is in this movie.
Okay, well, we've got Rosa Salazar as Alita. We've got Christoph Waltz. We've got Mahershala Ali. We've got
Jennifer Connelly.
Yes.
Amazing to see her back. It was funny to see her in this role because she's a little bit older.
Yeah.
I just remember her from Labyrinth, and I was sitting watching the movie, and I'm like, how far her life has come. You know, amazing going from David Bowie and now in a James Cameron Robert Rodriguez film.
She's a phenomenal actor, and she doesn't have a whole bunch to do in this movie. But
No,
she's got a pivotal kind of sequence in there, but there's not lots of performance. If you're going into this as a huge Jennifer Connelly movie, you might leave a little bit disappointed.
I was happy at least. I was a little bit happy.
I loved Alita, though, and that's, I think, the big risk that they had with this. I loved the character of Alita. She's a badass. She's incredible in this movie.
I've got to give a little bit of a backstory
because
in the 90s, I had a friend of mine. His nickname was Satan. This was a friend of ours.
Okay.
Pumped gas up the street.
Should I be worried?
No, do not be too worried.
All right.
But anyways, he came over and he was preaching the gospel of this manga comic called Battle Angel. And I was like, okay, and he had all the volumes, and he was always preaching to me, you got to check this out. And so I would read this, and I was like, this is an incredible story. Imagine it as a movie, and we didn't get a movie back then, but we got an OVA, an original video animation in Japan, and that was okay. It was pretty good. But, you know, James Cameron had an interest in this a long time ago, bought the rights to it, and I've been waiting for him to do this movie for years. And then all of a sudden he's doing all of the Avatar movies. And I'm like, well, this is getting shelved. And he's like, I'll do it in the future. And I'm not that I'm saying anything. I'm like, oh my God, how old is he going to be? Is he going to have it in him? Then he brings Robert Rodriguez in, and then I got a little nervous. And then the first trailers came out, and we saw the big eyes.
Yes.
And I was not happy, but I'm going to say something here, and I'm going to hold to this. I think this is the best anime into live action adaptation I have ever seen. It is so truthful to the manga. I can't believe it.
I'm not even a fan. I've not watched the mangas and the OVAs, but I can tell that this was like a fetishistic kind of take on the source material. You can tell. I mean, there's a shot where Alita cuts through a raindrop, you know, or a tear or something, and it's just like you can see that they just watched a lot of anime source, and they got a lot of details from, you know, where all of this inspiration came from, and they're really true to it. It is a weird world that we're in here. This is set in the future.
That's right, I just got to ask you, from somebody who didn't know all this stuff, is this a weird movie to you?
Well, it's a little weird because they really lean into this idea that everybody has lost an arm or a leg.
So, but that's what it's like in the manga.
Like, it's kind of nuts, though. Like, every person, they just close
there
up
is
on
no
their
nuts.
arm.
Nobody has any nuts in the future. They're all being replaced by cyborg parts.
Arms and legs are cut off, and everybody's got a cyborg hand. And they're all walking down the street with these, pastel-colored taxis and robot cars and things like. But everybody's got a robot arm or leg, except for a few people that we get to know. I also thought that when I first started to unravel this story, it's like, how does everybody know each other? It's supposed to be a big city, and then it's like the 6 main actors all get together right away, and they all know each other.
Because they're the main important characters in the story.
Yes.
Like any story.
I know.
You know, how does Batman know so-and-so? You know, it's like
I know,
Commissioner Gordon, because they know each other.
They're trying to show and paint this huge city and this huge world, and then it's just like, boom, we're down to these 6 actors.
Well, it is these hunters, you know, that go around getting... We won't get into the storyline. We're not going to ruin too much, but...
Well, there's some bounty hunting cyborgs, and there's some scrapping of people's parts and things like that. There's this underbelly, right? It's all based on this underworld that looks up to this floating city. Why in all these sci-fi things there's always floating cities?
Do you know what? I remember when I read the floating city thing, and they were talking about it and showing it for the first time. I was like, that's amazing. And I'm not saying anything. I know I'm going to go on and on about this.
Yeah.
But I was watching it, and I was like, oh my God, that's the scene of the manga. That's the scene of the manga. And I couldn't...
I could feel you squirming beside me.
Dude, the ultra-violence was there.
Yes.
I couldn't believe it. The roller ball was there.
The motor ball? That was so cool.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Which is like a throwback to the roller ball movement.
Exactly.
There is this kind of cheesy 70s, 80s kind of streak all the way through it, but with modern technology.
Yes.
And it's aware of itself. It's aware of the roots of it, and that B-movie quality is charming as hell.
I know, and the floating city, everybody's trying to get to.
Yes.
It's everybody's goal to get out of the scrap heaps of the city up to the golden city of the gods.
We've heard that kind of a plot line before. That seems to be a common thing.
This is the early 90s.
This is probably the one that inspired a lot.
Do you know what? It is. That's why James Cameron bought the rights to it.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Robert Rodriguez did a great job.
Yeah.
I am shocked.
Yeah.
And the thing that bugged me was the big eyes in the trailers. I thought this is going to be cheesy. They're trying to do anime in real life. Why didn't they just give her real eyes?
Yeah.
You know, like human eyes, give her normal eyes. And you know what? It worked for me.
Because, it is weird, though, that she's the only character that has eyes like that.
But remember, she can't say anything.
Yeah.
She's the last of a certain thing.
Yes, okay.
So maybe she's highly advanced, remember,
Well,
too.
and she stands out, and it's effective to kind of, place her in any of the crowd shots and stuff. But I will say that sometimes it looked like one of the human actors was walking beside like a CG Disney animation princess. Like
what do you mean? What do you mean?
She's almost got like from an animated movie kind of vibe, and stuck right into this movie.
Kind of like the Avatar thing, where it's very CG.
But she looks like a cartoon.
But she looks like a human cartoon.
Yeah.
It's that weird mix when I saw Avatar for the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the Avatars look CG, but they look real.
Yeah.
But the motion is amazing on her.
And I think the effects overall are incredible, but it does take you a while to kind of forget that they're effects. Like when they first starts out, and there's lots of plate shots and lots of compositing, and you can see the green screen work everywhere. You can see but then you just sort of filter in.
Just let it take you over.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when the action kicks in, holy crap,
jeez,
it's incredible.
It's incredible. Yeah. I honestly, I don't say we watched this in 3D, and there was a couple of times I had a couple small tears. Yeah. Really,
I could tell.
I couldn't. I was like,
you were getting emotional. I could tell you were squirming.
It was making me. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm like, this is so good.
That's great.
And I was looking for some reason to dislike it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wait, they're gonna go. No, they're staying true to the source material.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Even down to the last bunch of scenes, I won't say it, where you're like, oh my god, that's really dark, and we won't say.
Yeah.
I was waiting for that scene.
Yeah.
And I was like, they did it. They didn't back down.
No, it's not just. I think what's cool about this movie, though, it does get hardcore, but it's also accessible for a slightly younger crowd too.
It's not that bad.
It's okay for a teenager. It does get dark. You wouldn't want to take an 8-year-old or something like that. But I think a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old and up will be okay with this movie.
Yeah.
It's a very, very well-made movie.
Yes.
And it's also a very cocky movie because...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because they're hinting that there is more to come.
Right. The story doesn't completely end.
Yes.
And the funny thing, they said the movie was a little bit longer, so I was looking at my watch. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at my watch in movies going, oh, my God, another 40 minutes.
Do you think...
This one I wanted more. And they end a certain note, and there's got to be a sequel.
I mean, I do want more. Do you think there will be a sequel?
Please, for the love of God, go and see this movie.
For this man.
For me.
For this man right here.
Let them finish
If you care about this man at all,
please,
go see this movie.
James Cameron cared about us enough to go and get the rights.
Sure.
And then to stay this close to the source material.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to applaud this. When I was watching this, I'm like, I can't believe they made it.
I know.
Who's going to see this? I hope everybody sees this.
I think it's approaching that Judge Dredd, that Dredd movie kind of caliber. You know, that sort of.
It's so insane.
Yeah, but also it's made with that same kind of love,
yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
What are you going to give Battle Angel Alita?
You know what? I'm going to get crazy today, and I don't care because it's the closest to anime adaptation into live action. 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5. I think this movie is a lot of fun, and for Johnny's sake, go see it.
See it.